Hey guys, and welcome back to the finance channel. My name is Daniel, and today we will be analyzing Beyond Meat stock, ticker symbol BYND. In this video, I'm going to go through Beyond Meat's business model, financials, revenue growth, competitors, and make sure to stick around until the end of the video where I give my long-term price targets for the stock, as well as a good buy entry for it. In terms of a background here, Beyond Meat currently trading at around $140 per share, around a market cap of $8.7 billion, and this is obviously a very volatile stock. IPO'd at around 50 bucks, shot up to 250, then went down to 60 bucks in March, and now it's trading at around $140. If you are new here, first of all, welcome to the community. Make sure to hit that subscribe button to see more videos just like this one, and hit that like button as it really helps the channel out. If you have any questions, comments, or ticker symbols that you want me to look at, make sure to drop those down in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. So Beyond Meat is really the leader in the plant-based meat sector. They offer a wide variety of food, such as burgers, sausages, meatballs, and pork. They are a company continuously innovating, introducing new foods, making them better, cheaper, and healthier for you. This is what I love to see in a growth company, a company with innovation. That is Beyond Meat. They're also the leader in their sector, meaning that they're going to be the ones that benefit the most from this rise in vegetarianism and veganism that we will be seeing over the next decade. They have a wide variety of partnerships across retailers, restaurants, etc. We have, just a few examples here. They recently announced a partnership with Pizza Hut, where they worked with Pizza Hut to make sausages for their pizzas. And just look at that branding right there. Beyond Meat right on that box, nice and big. Beyond Meat has a partnership with Starbucks for their breakfast sandwich. Same goes for Dunkin' Donuts. They have in their breakfast sandwich, Beyond Meat has a breakfast sausage in there. Now, there is also, the situation with McDonald's is a little foggy as of this moment in time. It does appear that Beyond Meat will be making burgers for McDonald's, but that branding that we see with Pizza Hut might not be there for McDonald's, but either way, Beyond Meat is going to collect a royalty from each burger sold in McDonald's, each plant-based burger sold from McDonald's, and that's huge. And it really speaks to the quality of the product. You've got McDonald's, the #1 fast food chain in the world, serving your product at all of their locations. It's just huge. Beyond Meat is a company with innovation at its core. This is one of the main things that I need to see in a growth company. Here's just an example, announced a few days ago actually. Beyond Meat unveils 2 new versions of its Beyond Burgers. The new Beyond Burger patties are designed to mirror the options of beef in the market, with the presentation of lower fat option and a new version of its higher fat content option that the brand promises will be its juiciest patty for the meatiest Beyond Meat patty on the market. The low-fat option contains 50% less saturated fat and 35% less total fat than the 80/20 beef, according to a statement. And both burgers have fewer calories as well as added vitamins and minerals that are comparable to beef's micronutrient profile, the company said in a statement. Beyond Meat is a company that continues to innovate in terms of making their products better, healthier, and cost less. As they continue to innovate, make their products better across all these 3 categories, more and more people will transition to plant-based meat, and they will slowly start taking more and more market share from the meat market. Here we have a Google Trends of veganism and vegetarianism, and you can just see how they've been rising over the past decade plus. And in my opinion, this is just the beginning. As more and more people recognize the benefits of a plant-based diet, more people will transition to vegetarianism or veganism, and one of the best ways to do that is using Beyond Meat products or other plant-based products. But again, Beyond Meat has the greatest market share in the plant-based meat sector, so they're the ones that are really going to benefit the most from it. Here is just a few examples of why people should transition to a plant-based diet. Improving human health. 42% reduced risk of developing heart failure associated with people who eat a mostly plant-based diet. 30% of most cancers in developed countries are attributed to dietary factors, including consumption of certain meats. There is no doubt that a plant-based diet is healthier for you than a meat diet, as long as you get all nutrients, protein and other things along those lines. And Beyond Meat is at the forefront of this, providing a great alternative to, just eating, beans or, other vegetables. How about you go get a Beyond Burger, which has all of those different, incredible things, but tastes just like that, or very close to that normal meat taste. taste, texture, smell, and feel. Positively impacting climate change. 18 to 51% of global greenhouse gas emissions driven by livestock rearing and processing. This is huge. Climate change is becoming a bigger and bigger issue as the days go by. And I mean, a plant-based diet is really something that you can do to positively impact the planet. And you can do that by transitioning from meat to Beyond Meat. And I mean, again, Beyond Meat at the forefront of this transition. Addressing global resource constraints. 78% of all agricultural land is used for livestock, including grazing land and cropland dedicated to the production of feed. 29% of the water in agriculture is directly or indirectly used for animal production. Eating meat is one of the most inefficient ways to get nutrients into your body. It takes so many resources to raise an animal, and so many nutrients get lost throughout that process that, eating just straight up vegetables and, the things that grow out of the ground is just so much more efficient energy-wise. Improving animal welfare. 60 to 70 billion farm animals reared for food each year. There are many videos out there of slaughterhouses. And again, if you are someone who finds that a little disturbing, don't watch it. But, I recently watched one of these videos. And, now I'm having second thoughts about, maybe I should cut back on eating meat a bit. Maybe I should, try vegetarianism for a bit. Maybe I should turn vegetarian for a bit. And I mean, just having Beyond Meat there would make that transition so much easier. Being able to have that same taste while knowing that you're not, killing animals in the process. And I mean, that's huge. In terms of their competitors, Impossible Burger is their main one. They are obviously much smaller in terms of size, but there are a lot of individuals who prefer Impossible over Beyond Meat. However, I don't think this is a big concern since the market for plant-based meat is just going to continue to grow into the future, and I think there is room for a lot of different competitors in the space. But there is no doubt that Beyond Meat has the largest market share and will continue to have the largest market share for the next decade plus. And then there are, some smaller companies like the Very Good Butchers that, also provide plant-based meats, but they're at a much smaller scale right now in terms of size, only like 1% of what Beyond Meat is. So again, there will be competitors in the space. There is no doubt. But this sector will get so big that I don't think Beyond Meat will have a problem selling their products or growing massively going forwards. So when I look at a growth company, the way I like to kind of look at it is using the total addressable market, or the TAM. So if we kind of look at this, plant-based meat sales are set to explode, with Barclays estimating that the market for alternative meat could grow by 1,000% over the next 10 years, reaching $140 billion. Barclays posits that alternate meat could take over 10% of the $1.4 trillion meat industry. This is a goal that has been central to the rise of the plant-based makers Impossible Foods and Beyond Meat, as the companies target meat eaters over vegetarians. And keep in mind, Beyond Meat has around a 15 to 23% market share in the plant-based meat sector. So if this sector grows by over 1,000% over the next 10 years, just by maintaining that same market share, that means Beyond Meat's revenue would grow 1,000% over the next 10 years as well. So here we have Beyond Meat's balance sheet, and I think it just looks great. They've got $214 million in cash and cash equivalents, so this is money that they could spend whenever. Current debt is at zero. This company has no current debt. They have around $45 million in current liabilities, meaning that they could pay those off right now and still have over $170 million in the bank ready to go. Total liabilities are at a little over $100 million. So again, they could pay that off and still have well over $100 million in cash. So I think there's no real problem with Beyond Meat's balance sheet here. And I think, this is going to be enough so that they don't have to raise any more money going forwards as they continue to become a profitable company. And, in terms of their revenue growth, it's just incredible, going from, around $30-40 million in 2017 to almost 100 million in 2018 to 300 million in 2019. And you can kind of see how the loss or the operating income has, shrunk more and more as the years go by. And I think this is going to be a company with, generating a lot of money over the next decade. And here we have Beyond Meat's revenue on a quarterly basis, and you can just see how it's been growing exponentially. And we can see the impacts of COVID-19 on Beyond Meat over the past few quarters here. This is one of the reasons why the stock price has kind of gone down over the past few weeks to months here, because of the Q3 report where revenue, pretty much stayed stagnant for the year. But in my opinion, once, COVID is over, once things get back to normal, this will be a company growing revenues 40 to 50% easily over the next 5+ years. Revenue estimates for this company currently expect them to do around 38% for the current year, which is huge. We're in a pandemic, Next year, 51% growth, getting back to that giant growth for Beyond Meat. And again, just like I said, I think Beyond Meat will be a company that can easily do 40% plus revenue growth over the next 5+ years. And that's huge. Having a company growing at that scale for so many years, it's really something interesting. In terms of earnings, they have been shrinking earnings as the years go by and are expected to be profitable next year. In 2019, they had a 29-cent negative EPS. This year, that's expected to be negative 26 cents. Because of COVID, it didn't shrink as much as they wanted it to. But next year, it's supposed to be positive 18 cents. Again, this is nowhere near where it can be or will be in the future. But having a profitable company is just so much better because it eliminates a lot of risk with having to raise money and dilute shares. And in terms of valuation here, Beyond Meat currently trading at $140 per share at a market cap of $8.7 billion. You can't really value this one with current metrics, in terms of trailing PEs, forward PEs, price to sales, things along those lines. You can't really do that because that way you'd never buy this stock. You wouldn't buy a stock at an 800 forward PE. There's no way. What I'm going to do is look 10 years out, because that way we can get a better picture where they're going to be a decade from now and kind of value the stock, 10 years from now and kind of look at the potential upside that the stock has. So here I have a realistic estimate. So this is kind of, honestly, could be a bit conservative for Beyond Meat. We're assuming that the plant-based meat market is at $140 billion. And honestly, I think that's pretty realistic, given this trend that we are seeing and will continue to see over the coming years. And we're also assuming that Beyond Meat has a 13% market share at that time. They currently have around a 15 to 23% market share. The number isn't really too clear, but it's around 15 to 23%. So I'm going to go on the lower side here, assuming that they have 15% market share, and assuming that they're going to kind of drop down a few percentage points in terms of market share going forwards, which would mean that they would have $18.2 billion in revenue 10 years from now. They have around a 33% gross margin when things are normal, so I'm just going to assume that stays the same, which would mean they have around $6 billion in gross profit. Out of that, we can assume that around 60% will go to net income, which is comparable to a Tyson Foods. That's another, very large food manufacturer. So I'm just assuming that from their gross margin, around 60% will go to net income, which means that they would have $3.6 billion in net income. So if we slap a 20 price to earnings on that, that's a $72 billion market cap, which would mean $1,148 per share, which would be 700% plus on the upside over the next decade. Will it trade at a 20 price to earnings? Maybe. Maybe it could go higher. What if this company continues to grow? I mean, sure, $140 billion industry is big, right? But given the fact that the meat industry is $1.4 trillion industry, I think this could be a company that continues to grow into the future. So what if it has a 20 price to earnings? Well, that would mean that the stock price would be trading at around $1,437 per share, an upside of 911%. And keep in mind, this is a little conservative in terms of their market share in the plant-based meat sector. So let's look at the best case scenario estimate. Let's think they get a 17% market share. So let's go on a bit of a higher end. Some people say they have around 23% market share right now, so let's say that slips and goes to 17%. That means that they would have $23.8 billion in revenue 10 years from now. At a 33% gross margin, that's $8.1 billion in gross profit. 60% of that going to net income would mean around $5 billion in net income at a 20 price to earnings. That is a $98 billion market cap with over 1,000% on the upside, with a price target of $1,564 per share. And again, that's at a 20 price to earnings. If this company, continues to grow, show strong growth 10 years from now, the stock could very well be trading at around a 25 price to earnings, which would mean a market cap of $122 billion or a price per share of $1,951, upside of 1,274%. Again, this is my estimate. I'm just kind of using numbers in terms of, where I think Beyond Meat will be. Using kind of numbers in terms of how much market share I think they have relative to what they have now, their gross margins, gross profit, net income. This could very well be much different. What if their gross margin slips a little? But what if their market share increases? What if they're trading at a higher price to earnings or a lower price to earnings? These are all things that could change. But if they do and maintain that, 15, 17% market share, this could very well be a company trading at the $1,000+ range. Now, one thing I need to talk about here, these all sound like incredible numbers, right? You see like 1,000% on the upside, 1,500% on the upside over the next 10 years. That's awesome, right? These are incredible numbers, but you need to remember that Beyond Meat will have to execute very well to maintain that market share, to maintain that gross profit, that net income. If they slip up a little, that could have a big impact on my price target. And keep in mind as well, this is my price target, right? There's no doubt in my mind that this could very well be wrong. I'm just using my knowledge as to where they are right now and kind of looking 10 years down the road where they could be. So my personal buy target for the stock is anytime it's in the 120s, I think it holds good value. Keep in mind, I want you guys to do your own due diligence. Make up your own price targets. Make up your own buy targets. It's really important to understand the company to the fullest level. I'm just giving you guys my opinion. My opinion could very well be wrong. So I want you guys to, make up your own buy targets, price targets, get confident with this stock on your own. This is just my opinion. It could very well be wrong. And keep in mind, I am someone who owns a different plant-based meat manufacturer, so I'm not really in a rush to buy Beyond Meat. I think when it's in the 120s, a lot of the risk is minimized for it long term. And honestly, if I miss it, I miss it. But, I'll be comfortable knowing that I have a play in this sector and will benefit with its growth going forwards. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all have a great day. Peace out.